Hello, I'm Michael Giltz, covering the Cannes Film Festival for Huffington Post.
And I'm J. Sperling Reich, covering the Cannes Film Festival for Showbiz Sandbox.
Which is a podcast that Sperling and I have been doing for 2 years. We started it practically at Cannes.
Yeah, I think our fourth episode was at the 2009 Cannes Film Festival.
That's right. So you can find that on iTunes, and you can find links to it at showbizsandbox.com and elsewhere.
And elsewhere, yes. Zune Marketplace, iTunes, RSS Reader.
So what happens at Cannes is you get so busy watching the movies, you don't have time to write about them. You have even less time to podcast and videocast about them. But we're going to do some catch-up. We're going to catch up on day 2.5 and day 3 at the Cannes Film Festival. We're going to start with the movie we saw in the afternoon, Polisse. It's sort of it's hard to translate into English because it's really kind of like cops, K-O-P-S. It's a child's misspelling of the name police in French. And the movie is about a child protection unit in Paris, which is a group of people who work to help children, save them from pedophiles, bust pedophiles, get them out of dangerous situations, that sort of thing. And it was directed by Maïwenn, an actress who appeared in The Fifth Element by Luc Besson.
Yeah, which was in the 1990s, so I don't even know how that relates.
That's her best acting thing, I think, that people know her of. But
yeah, and she plays a role in the film as a photographer documenting the police division that she's...
The CPU, the Child Protection Unit.
Yes. It's kind of... I heard it compared to The Class, which won, I believe, to the 2009 Palme d'Or here at the Cannes Film Festival, but a police version of The Class.
I don't know about that, but did you like it?
I did like it. I thought it was a little long and at times a little sappy and over the top. Specifically in... I don't want to give away any spoilers, but certainly the way... certain issues resolved themselves, certain narratives resolved themselves was a little kind of sappy. But overall, I thought it was a good film. Interesting characters. They made me wonder how true to life it really was, because the first bit of the film, first seconds of the film, there's a title on screen that says, "These stories are true and taken from the CPU."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Maïwenn said she did a lot of research and based it on actual stories and events. Some of the things seem shocking. People come in and say, you know, of course I rape children.
Yes.
But I thought it was a very good TV pilot.
Yes,
I felt like
that's kind of what it felt like.
You were introduced to a lot of characters. Some of them were pretty engaging. It was a big ensemble, and you sort of follow them for a few days with, you know, their adventures, some comic, some tragic, and them dealing with the stress in their personal lives of doing all this job that is so stressful and difficult. You know, they have bad relationships, they break up, they fall apart, they have affairs, that sort of thing. But I didn't feel as a film standing by itself it was very substantial. It felt superficial.
Well, then what did you think of Habemus Papam, which stands for...
We have a pope.
Yes.
I'm Catholic, so I should know that. That's Latin for we have a pope. It's what is said on the balcony in Rome when the smoke has come up and they come out to say, yes, we have a new pope, and show him to the world for the first time. This is a comedy drama by Nanni Moretti, who also made The Sun's Room and Caro Diario. And
he won the Palme d'Or for The Sun's Room.
That's right.
Here in Cannes.
A pretty serious drama that was known mostly for comedy.
Yes.
And
he stars in this film as he co-stars.
Yeah, no, he has a supporting role as a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm not sure if he actually is a psychiatrist, whether he can prescribe drugs. In fact, I don't think he can, nor can his wife. So he's a psychologist. And they elect a new pope. They're deadlocked for quite a while. The cardinals are in conference, and nobody wants to be pope. That's one of the jokes of the movie. In real life, everybody strives for decades to become a pope. You don't become a pope by accident. It's like becoming president. You campaign, you politic. Your whole career is geared towards that. But in this movie, none of the cardinals want to be pope, and they're deadlocked over the 3 favorites. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, on one ballot, one man miraculously out of nowhere becomes the pope. And he's like, what?
And that man is played by Michel
Petrucciani.
Yes.
That's right, one of the great French actors. And they announce it, he accepts, they walk on the balcony, they say, we have a new pope, and they're just about to bring him out, and he goes, ah! He has a primal scream of fear, because he realizes the incredible responsibility and weight that the office has. He doesn't feel up to it, and there's a crisis. They all go back in, the world is waiting, they don't know who the new pope is.
For days, and we follow Michel Petrucciani's character as he kind of comes to grips with becoming the pope, and it's kind of his adventures outside the Vatican as a normal person. A non-cardinal.
That's right. At first, a psychologist comes in, played by Nanni Moretti, and he tries to have a session with him to help him face his fears, but he has to do it surrounded by all the cardinals.
It's very funny. There are some very funny moments in the movie.
Yeah, there's some gentle whimsy. It's also quite serious. It treats his spiritual crisis pretty sympathetically and empathetically, which you might not expect from a communist atheist like Nanni Moretti. He says he has no faith. But it is a sympathetic film. It's sweet. I think my mother will like it. It's that sort of movie. I don't think it's a great film. A lot of people at Cannes here were like, it was okay. They weren't thrilled by it.
It's a lovely little bonbon in the middle of a death and destruction type of festival.
I liked it a little more than most people did, and I really enjoyed the ending. I don't think the film quite led up to the exciting conclusion that it had. But there you go. That was that film. Mixed reaction from most people. They were polite to it. I liked it a little bit more than that.
Now, I know that you loved a film called Footnote.
That's right. It's by Joseph Cedar, the director of Buford, which was an Israeli film set almost entirely inside a tank. It was soldiers on movement inside a tank. In this film, in contrast, it's about academia, but he uses a lot of visual flourishes and tricks. He has a lot of fun. I think he felt freed up from not having to be stuck inside that enclosed space.
Yeah, you mentioned he's an Israeli filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's, it was a film that was about academics, but about very religious academics.
Well, it's two Talmudic scholars. It's a father and a son. The father toiled all his life on his grand project, which was a very complicated Talmudic topic. And about a month before he published, after 30 years of work, another rival scholar made just a random discovery in a library that undercut all his work and got it published and ruined his whole life's work. So that's very upsetting, but he's an engrossing, serious scholar. His son is a very popular scholar. He knows how to glad hand people. He's good at the politics of being.
He's good at networking and
socializing. And his science is also similarly sort of flashy. He writes books. He's on television. He's very smooth and friendly. And his dad is like in the study, laborious,
cataloging every piece of every word from the scriptures.
That's right. And the movie begins with the son being accepted into an academy, which is a very prestigious honor, and the father is a little upset and embarrassed about how jealous.
He's never been there.
Yeah, he's never been there, and he's jealous, and he's not part of the academy because he's never known how to make friends.
I don't think we should kind of go into what happens to both of those characters, unless because it could be a bit of a spoiler.
Well, sure, but there's tension and rivalry between the father and the son because the son gets this honor and the father doesn't. And the movie goes on from there. It's quite sort of gently satirical. If you know anything about office politics or academia, I'm sure you'll identify with it. But it's also that tension between a father and a son, especially when they're in the same field.
Yeah, and I think, I know that a lot of people were mixed about it. I liked it as well. People hated the score because it was too loud. They thought it was too bombastic and too loud and too in their face. Frankly, that was part of what the director was going for.
Yeah, absolutely. The score did a great job of letting you enjoy the humor of the movie, but also letting you know that there was something serious very much at stake, because the stakes were very high. It was the relationship between a father and a son that was at stake, and also seeing if the son will make the same mistakes with his own adolescent teenage boy that the father perhaps made with his son.
Yes, and I thought that was actually a wonderful scene when the father kind of confronts the boy about what his son is going to do with his life.
Right.
And I won't say where that scene goes, but it's a phenomenal. The acting was great on all accounts.
Yeah, I thought it was a terrific movie. I'm sure it will be in art houses in America soon. Not soon, but next year, and I think people will like it.
Well, now, speaking of music, sort of, since we were just talking about the score for Footnotes, we saw a documentary called, you're going to have to...
Michel Petrucciani.
Thank you. For some reason, I can never remember the last name. Petrucciani.
It's a documentary about a late jazz pianist, Michel Petrucciani, who was also suffered or dealt with dwarfism. He had very stunted growth, and he also had incredibly fragile bones, to the point when he was performing, he would sometimes break bones in his hand or break a collarbone. I mean, he was an incredibly fragile person. Sometimes he'd be carried around onto the stage and off the stage. But
his bandmates would carry him around.
Yes, that's how he could get around, because many places aren't handicap-friendly, of course. And he was a world-famous pianist, and this is about his life.
Yes, and I thought it was good, and I know we talked about it afterwards. You had certain problems with it. I knew absolutely nothing about this jazz pianist.
I knew less than nothing.
And so I found it absolutely a fascinating look into a life of somebody who struggled and throughout their life with being kind of unordinary or extraordinary, really, in terms of not only their physical appearance but then their talent. and how they overcame their handicap.
See, I didn't think it was that at all. I don't think it was a movie about him overcoming his adversity.
No, it was not.
It was just a movie about an incredibly talented pianist. To its credit, that's what makes it good. He has a string of girlfriends, he drinks, he drugs, but he's not a destructive sort of person.
He just lived life as fast and as full as you possibly could.
Absolutely. And he knew all along, the doctors had said from when he was a little baby, he probably won't live long, and he always felt like the clock was ticking. To the movie's detriment, there is a clock ticking in the background throughout the film. Every once in a while, they cut to a clock, just in case you're not sure. The movie was directed by Michael Radford, the director of the Oscar-winning film Il Postino, a movie I did not like. But this film is pretty good. It's entertaining. It's about him. You learn about his life. You hear snatches of music. The problems I have were, one, there were almost no complete performances in the film. Actually, none until the end credits. That's the first time you got to hear him perform a song from beginning to end. And two, I felt a little lost about some of his professional career, how he flourished creatively, because they offhandedly mentioned him breaking through and becoming a really great artist towards the end of his career and suddenly finding a much wider audience than he had before. But it's sort of an aside. They're like, yeah, and then he became really best-selling. Well, how did that happen? And I also felt like they got a little bogged down in the relationships, which I didn't care so much about.
Well, you mean the romantic relationships?
Right, yes. He's a serial romantic. He has a girlfriend, and when she gets exhausted and says, I can't go on tour, he's like, all right. And a week later on tour, he's like, I've met someone else. I'll talk to you later. I mean, he's just incorrigible.
He was quite the Casanova for...
Well, I don't know about that. I think he was it seemed to be he was in very long-term relationships. I don't think he had a girl in every port. It seemed like he was with this girl and then with her for a year or two. And then
the next girl,
Yeah, it seemed he was more of a, not betting every woman in sight, but, a guy who quickly fell in love. Let's just put it that way.
And I will say this. I understand, being frustrated that you weren't looking at a whole performance of our main subject.
And they're talking over the music. It's like...
But, I mean, you have an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe an hour and 45 minutes.
Gotta show me why we're talking about it.
And a piano performance, one of those performances, the last 15 minutes.
Well, you choose a song that's 4 minutes or 3 minutes or 5. There are shorter pieces. But again, if you're going to tell us this guy's a great pianist, you get flashes of his technical brains, but you should give us a chance to see him perform and let us experience the art. Otherwise, why are we watching it?
Well, because it's here in Cannes.
That's right. And we'll be back tomorrow or the next day when we can catch up on days 3 and 4, 4 and 5.
3 through 5.
We get a little confused about what day of the week it is.
I have to say, that is the one thing about Cannes. I have no idea what day it is anymore.
No,
whether it's Saturday or Sunday, what the actual date is, I couldn't tell you. I could tell you what movie's showing, though. That I could tell you.
But keep listening, keep watching, and we'll be back with more.